Okay, so the next film I want to take a look at on the show is the brand new film from the Soska twins, On the Edge. As you'll know, on this show over the years, I've been a pretty big fan of the films that the Soskas have made, and it's been interesting because there have been people that I've been able to watch the career of develop, because the first time I met them was at Monster Fest, and their very first film, Dead Hooker in a Trunk, was the film that they were there for, and I was able to meet them and sit down and have a chat to them and talk about the film. So it's always felt kind of weird that I've always been able to catch up and chat to them after every film that they've ever made, whether it be an interview or just chatting to them at Monster Fest. So I've felt over the years that I've been able to watch them grow as performers and filmmakers, and it's been an exciting journey to be on. Now, their new film, On the Edge, is very different to anything that you've seen them have done before. If you're thinking that it's going to be anything like the films like See No Evil 2 and stuff like that, think again. As Jen and Sylvia said in my interview with them, this is the first film that they've been able to write and then make themselves for a while, and part of the reason why this film got made was because of COVID. They knew that they had to try and work on something that they could do in one location and with a very limited cast. And for myself, I think that in years to come, these films that were made during COVID are going to become a genre to themselves, because so many creative filmmakers out there were able to make films despite all the restrictions and everything put on them about locations and how many cast members they could use and things like that. So On the Edge pretty much only has a couple of locations, a house and also a hotel room. Now what happens is we find ourselves in a world where people like Senator Coleman, played by Mackenzie Gray, are trying to stamp out sex work. At the same time, Peter, played by Aramis Satario, who is a husband and a dad who is a piece of crap. He's not there for his family at all. He hires a dominatrix, played by Jen Soska, for 36 hours, for a 36-hour session. Things start to go wrong very, very quickly during the session. He soon finds himself to be a prisoner, and he finds out that Mistress Satana is possibly more than what he expected. And he soon starts finding himself living in an absolute nightmare. Now, for people watching this film, some people are going to go into this just expecting a cheap thrill. It's a dominatrix horror. Yeah, I'll get a cheap thrill watching the film. This film goes a lot deeper than that. Jen and Sylvia really investigate what that dom-sub relationship is like. Now, you have to suspend your belief a little bit during this film, and you also, as an audience member, have to be smart enough to work out what's really happening and what is happening in the minds of the characters, because this film goes on a wild ride as it explores religion and sex, mythology, and this is a film that, if you treat it in the right way, will really stop and make you think. The way that this film looks at religion and sex is something that hasn't been done very often in cinema. It also explores more about what it is like to be a sex worker, in particular dominatrix, and what happens during those sessions. Like I said, this film is a bit of a wild ride, and it plays out like a dom-sub session, and what can quite often be going on in a sub's mind. You do constantly think, where is this film going to go? There's a lot of suspense in this film. The only thing I think is it probably goes a little bit too long. It probably could have had 15-20 minutes cut out of it, but for the most part, this does work. But look, if you're going to go into this film, don't go into this film expecting a cheap thrill. This is not the film for that. This is a film that is going to make you think. It has some really intense moments for its performers. Arameus and Jen have some pretty confronting scenes in this film, and they pull it off really, really well. I actually think this is one of those films that's going to become a cult classic down the track. People are going to watch this film over the years to come and realize there was more to this film than what they originally thought when they sat down to watch it. I sat down and watched it twice before I did my interview, and I think I got more and more out of it the second time when I sat down to watch it. So this is not a film that's going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I think it's a film that's really showed how the Soskers have matured as filmmakers, and it shows that they've got a bit of an experimental side there as well that might sometimes take them away from mainstream horror and go into this experimental side, and it works. So look, give this film a watch if you're a serious kind of horror fan that doesn't mind a film that makes you think a little bit. Sit down, check it out. You'll probably find that this will take you on a bit of a journey that you wasn't expecting. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5. It's screening at the moment as part of Monster Fest, so make sure you go and check it out, because I think this is a film that deserves a lot more credit than what it's getting, but 3.5 out of 5 from me.